thank everybody for coming back to Cease and Desist. This is Indiana Behavior Association's new podcast. This is episode 3. I'm your host. My name is Joaquin, and we are going to be having a fun time today. We're going to be talking about cease and desist, non-competition agreements, and a few other things that occur in the waiver industry here in Indiana. We have brought together a pretty good panel of individuals who have some experience with this. We're going to be able to share their experiences, their perspectives, and we're really excited to bring all of this content to you all back home, to all 17 of our subscribers. Thank you all. So I'd like to begin with, what'd you say?
I said maybe it'll be 18 this week.
No, 17 is a lucky number. So I would like to begin by having the panel just go around, introduce yourselves, who you are, what do you do, so we kind of understand why you're here today.
My name is Ryan Moss, and I am a behavior consultant for supportive behavior services.
I am Jennifer Hersig. I'm also a behavior consultant for supportive behavior services.
And the co-host.
I'm Kara. I am also a behavior consultant with supportive behavior services.
And I'm Leslie. I'm Kara's client.
Yeah. Well, you're more than that. You can say maybe a fun fact.
I'm an artist.
Sweet.
Nice.
Very glad you made it, Leslie. Thank you for coming today.
Leslie, how long have you and Kara worked together?
Since 2019.
Oh,
but
wow.
There was a break.
It's complicated, right?
It's we'll get to that. We'll unpack it.
Look at Ryan already just 2 steps ahead, right? Already jumping
Sorry,
the gun.
no, I was just wondering.
Yeah, so
I love it. This is good. So real quick before we dive into that, because that is exactly where we're headed, Ryan. So thank you. One thing I want to talk about ahead of time is we already kind of know a lot of things that are going to come up today, and we're going to be pretty candid. We're going to be pretty open what's happening in our industry that we work in and day out. And so one thing that, when I met with one of the company attorneys was this word called defamation. And so we meet monthly to do what we call risk mitigation, basically making sure that the agency is protected from external threats, which I thought in the beginning was just going to be mistakes that I might make as a business owner. And I learned that it's really, the competition trying to sabotage and battle with you. So with defamation, I want to just explain that in order to meet that criteria, it has to be demonstrably false, right? Provably a lie. And then that falsehood or that lie causes damages. And so what we're going to talk about today is going to be some pretty serious topics, but we are going to demonstrate how they're all true. And you can talk about the truth all day long. This is like the news, right? If you get arrested and they got a mugshot of you and they put it on the news, it's not defamation. You got arrested. So we're going to talk about the truth today. We're going to demonstrate how it's the truth. We'll all be good. Sound like a plan, everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So like I said, our topic, we're going to focus on these, non-competition agreements. Often in this industry, they're called non-solicitation. They just rebrand it, relabel it, right? Instead of saying it's a non-competition, oh no, it's just a non-solicitation clause, which is just masking that it's a non-competition agreement. So those terms are used interchangeably. At the end of the day, they're both non-competition agreements, contractual restrictive covenants, right? And so I would like to go around and just get an initial thought. When you hear those terms in our industry, what's your just kind of initial, gut check thought about that? If you could start us out, Ryan.
Yeah, so I guess when I started in the industry, I didn't really have any concerns regarding non-compete or non-solicitation. But now that I am in it and I've built relationships with my clients, I think it's kind of scary or worrisome to think about having a non-compete or non-solicitation.
I appreciate that. Fair. Who's next? I think Jennifer's next.
My next. So my feeling on non-competes is that is so anti-waiver. Waiver is about choice. It's about being able to choose who you work with. Behavior consultants develop relationships with the people that they work with. And in a lot of cases, those people want to continue that relationship. And so these kinds of non-competes, I have very strong feelings about that.
Very cool. I have a sneaking suspicion that we are going to dive into those strong feelings today.
Mhm.
Kara, Leslie, what are you all's thoughts?
I feel like I was a little more reserved on the last podcast, but this one really gets me going. So I consider the non-solicitation and the non-competes two different things. You know, we can't solicit. That's a beads rule, correct?
Yes, we can.
I mean, not to consumers. So when I think of that,
Yes, we can.
I don't know. I don't think that we should be able to. But the non-competes, I look at it as a client is wanting to follow, you know, a clinician somewhere, and their rights are being restricted. Like they cannot choose to follow. So I don't know. I look at them as two separate things. I mean, there's a negative association for sure, because you think of the individuals who want to follow clinicians who can't. I think honestly, though, sometimes there are those the verbiage is kind of more important than the non-compete, because it's like, this person will not provide any services like B-man, you know, it goes on and on. The writing under it is also what's important.
Sure, definitely agree.
2 cents. What about you, Leslie? Do you think, because I know that the non-compete has impacted you in the past, would you consider a non-compete something that's fair to the community, or do you think it's a disservice?
I know for me it affected my ability to see you for the
year. Yeah,
for the year, and that was a bit of a hiccup and what we were working on and stuff.
Yeah, so just
really sorry that happened, Leslie.
Thank you.
I'll touch on that, the definition of solicitation real quick, just to clarify for, like I said,
go
our
ahead and
17.
clarify.
Yeah, for our 17 subscribers need to know. So in the waiver industry, which solicitation comes up, it's going to be like episode 6 or 7. It's already prepped and outlined. And we'll dive into it deeper then. I just want to provide clarity. So one of the 460, Indian Administrative Code says that we are barred from uninvited solicitation. And that is very different than solicitation. We can solicit, right? We're providing a service. We can tell people about that. We're providing the services where we're providing it. It's a good service. We got good BCs. We got a website. We have media. I have business cards. I'm soliciting all the time, right? We can do that. But what's happened in our industry is people have learned to use it as a stick. And so then, individuals who are less aware or less experienced in the industry will think, oh, solicitation, it's a bad word. We can solicit all day long. We cannot perform uninvited solicitation. And the difficulty there is the state does not have a direct definition of what uninvited solicitation is. And so it's open to, interpretation. And so we'll dive into that in the next, I think it's, like I said, episode 5, 6, 7, one of those. But just for, today's discussion, we can absolutely solicit, just not uninvited. Yeah. We can't coerce.
I have mixed feelings about that. I'm just going to go ahead and say it, because I feel like if I'm talking to a consumer, that could be like manipulation. So
you're telling me to invite you back for the solicitation episode.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe not.
I got it. So, well, I'll let you decide that. But anywho, in this current episode, we're going to focus on these non-competition agreements that are often called non-solicitations, right? But don't get confused. It doesn't mean non-solicitation. It's a manipulation of the verbiage, in my opinion, to confuse. When you're reading an employment agreement or a contract, it's used there to kind of trick you. Oh no, we don't have non-competes. It is a non-compete, and it does create an issue. And so, Kara, you alluded to Leslie being impacted by this. Would either of you be willing to kind of elaborate on that some?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just start off.
Leslie, is that okay with you? You good with Kara elaborating on that? I don't have
to speak about like the situation that happened. Like with us, I can just kind of start like broad and then kind of narrow in. Okay, so do you want me to start from the beginning? Like how far are we like?
Tell us what happened.
To kind of, okay, so long story short, I was burnt out at my old job, underpaid, overworked, blah, blah, blah. So I was looking for a new job opportunity. I knew that I loved being a BC. I felt like it was where I belonged. I loved the community. I just did not feel respected by my old employer. I gave my notice with my old employer, DDSI, because I know everybody's wondering, all 18 of you. I was at DDSI. I gave my notice. I gave a 30 days notice in writing. I offered to help with a transition even after, so unpaid transition, basically to make sure that my consumers were taken care of. I was told I could not tell anyone. I couldn't prepare the individuals, basically to keep my mouth shut and just wait until the very last day. And then this bomb was kind of dropped on the individuals that I served. I chose to go ahead and tell about half of my caseload because I felt it was the right thing to do. They could also pick up on things. I just didn't feel right doing it. So I told them. The other half, I have a lot of regrets about not telling them. But so yeah, I told the consumer or about
what were you telling them? Explain that to us.
Okay, so I'm just like
not the actual script, but like what are you
I mean, it was basically the same thing. Just so you know, I can tell that you're, picking up that things are a little different. I am leaving DDSI.
Why were you telling them all this? Like, what is the overarching umbrella about this?
It's multiple things. I want to prepare them for a transition.
Why do you have to prepare them for a transition? Why is there a transition?
Correct. Okay, so the non-compete, that plays a role. So as
the big ticket item, the meat and potatoes that we're here for.
It's the non-compete, correct. So as that conversation would evolve, it's my consumer saying, okay, so where are you going? And I was honest with them. I'm like, I'm going to supportive behavior services. And they're like, okay, how do I get started? And I'm like, you can
talk to your case manager,
but I cannot take you onto my caseload because I signed this covenant basically saying I will not work with you for a year after leaving DDSI. And so there are a lot of questions after that. So that's kind of how it began. Yeah.
Let me jump in there real quick. So one thing I want to basically make very clear to the industry, whether you're a music therapist, a rec therapist, a behavior consultant, this another manipulation, right, of you trying to use a stick and saying, you can't solicit, you can't do uninvited, right? When agencies have been known to tell people, well, since you gave notice, you can't tell people where you're going. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'll fight that tooth and nail. You are allowed to tell human beings that are our equals, because we're all equals, the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth is, hey, I put my notice in at Walmart. I start at Target in 2 weeks. That's the truth. And nowhere in that sentence did I engage in uninvited solicitation. I didn't coerce them. I didn't say, hey, if you come to Target, I'll give you a 25% discount every time you come to Target. Hook you up from the deli, get you a sandwich, and get you free Starbucks. There's no uninvited solicitation. There's no coercion. There's no bribing. These are facts. They're the truth. You can always tell people where you're going to work. Post it on your Facebook. Tell everybody. I wanted to clarify that because that has been a long-standing tactic in the industry, in the waiver industry, is to tell practitioners, you cannot talk to them, can't call them, can't speak to them, can't tell them where you're going. You just have to completely.
But why is that? Why do providers want that? That's the bigger issue. They want it to keep that revenue because they don't want the consumer to leave. That's what it boils down to.
They're more concerned with keeping the individual, the money, than they are with taking care of the clinician that would have kept the individual there, giving you all a raise and all that kind of things. And so, Kara, to circle back, so you worked at DDSI, which for those who don't know who DDSI is, Developmental Disabilities Services Incorporated. They're based systems. Thank you. They are based out of Greenfield. Yep. I had never heard of them until Kara applied. She was interviewed. She was subsequently given a job offer. And then if you guys want to hear a funny story, Some of you, Jennifer, you know this, but I received a fun phone call after that.
Oh,
Kara, you
yeah.
probably know about that. So if I can tell you guys about that real quick. So like I said, I'd never heard of them, don't know who they are. I get a cold call on my cell phone, my personal cell phone, get a phone call from a 317 number. So I answer it. I don't care. And I'm going to paraphrase. It's been a little while, but it was something to the effect of like, hello, this is Joaquin. And it was like, hello, this is Doug, the behavior bully Duggar. And I was like,
Well, I don't think he said that middle part.
I'm paraphrasing.
Defamation.
And so I was like, yeah, what's up? And so he was like, you got a BC coming to you that's soliciting. Okay, well, they can do that. What's up? Oh, no, they can't do that. They can't mess with us. Okay, well, if you have, evidence of like, uninvited solicitation, email it over to me. We'll review. We'll do an investigation as we're required. We'll look into it. Listen, boy, that's not how it works. And then he tells me, I'm going to break the whole little bit. Then he tells me, you don't want to mess with us. The last company that messed with us was Accessibilities, and that cost them $75,000. And I was like, listen, dude, at the end of the day, if you have like evidence somebody's doing something, send it over. Otherwise, I got nothing for you. He grumbles, yells at me, hangs up the phone. Only time I've ever spoken to this person in my life. And I did after that what any rational human being would do, is I picked up the phone and called Renee Doman, the owner of Accessibilities, and said, hey, Renee, I just got a phone call from your best friend, Doug Duggar. This is what he told me. Is any of it true? And so she said, first thing she said, well, he signed a non-disclosure agreement, so he's already in violation of that. And then I'm not going to disclose what she and I talked about, but we had a couple of phone conversations that were quite candid and informative. And so that information led me down a rabbit hole, because I love my late night, manic rabbit holes. And I'm going to share my screen real quick and show y'all where I ended up. So this was back initiated, I think, in 2018. What we found was there was a BC by the name of Marcy Thompson. She left DDSI, had signed this non-compete, I think 8-10 years prior. Don't quote me. I'm just trying to recall.
Yeah, I think she was there a while.
Sure. And so she went to Accessibility, started working there. Her individuals made their free will choice. They want to continue to work with her. And Doug Duggar and DDSI sued her. She ended up filing for bankruptcy during the middle of this lawsuit, because lawsuits are expensive, right, folks?
That's so
Like,
sad.
And rumor has it he held that in court until she gave up.
She broke, right? Because it's expensive, right? I know exactly what that's like, right? I'll explain that a little later, but he sued a behavior consultant. She had to file for bankruptcy. From my understanding, she's still thankfully in the industry. But yeah, it's damaging to the industry, because all these individuals, it never was once about the individuals. In that lawsuit, that's public record on my case, it just states, this is how much money losing them cost us. This is your fault. We want it back. And so that's all it was about. It was never about the individual being served, because the individual being served should get to pick by whom they're served at any point in time for any reason. Shouldn't have to explain it. Just, yeah, you can go. And so that was a fun rabbit hole to have discovered. So Kara, with you and Leslie, how did you two get back together?
So, well, at the time I was working with case managers, and it was like a group of people, and, just as you do good work and make good connections within the community, you have allies and people who, work together really well. And so Leslie actually ended services with DDSI, even though
good for you.
Leslie didn't. And to be honest, like 12, I want to say, of my clients still chose to end with DDSI, even though I couldn't serve them. So I just had to throw that out there. But Leslie went to Rachel, and Rachel was great. And then
a different behavior consultant, right?
A different behavior consultant. Yes, sorry. And then we transitioned back.
So after the year stipulation of your non-competition, so forgive me if I misunderstand this, but from what I understand, Leslie wanted to work with you the entire time. Leslie, you were a grown-up making grown-up decisions, and you wanted to work with Kara this entire time, but because of that non-competition and the history of DDSI's suing of behavior consultants, you couldn't. Is that right?
Yeah.
Leslie
How,
was oh, sorry, Joaquin. I was gonna say Leslie was actually with me when, after that phone call, I was told I couldn't work my 30 days. I was on an outing with Leslie. I get a text from Doug, turn in your stuff by 5 p.m. and you do not talk to any clients. And so I'm with Leslie. I look over and I'm like, I'm sorry, we have to end our outing. And Leslie's upset. I'm upset. I was told I could not contact Leslie. I believed it. And so
you don't know what you don't know until, you know,
Mhm.
so I dropped
somebody finds
Leslie
their
off.
way to me so I can tell them.
Yeah.
It
All right,
was-
I got a question. I'll start with Ryan. I want to pose this
Yes.
question. In
Okay.
this very specific industry, right? I don't want to dive into Lamborghini versus Ferrari or all the others because I don't know anything about them. But in this specific industry, the use of non-competes, if they're using non-competes, what makes a business motivated to give raises, to innovate, to improve their service delivery? Like, what motivation is there for them to do better in general?
If there's a non-compete.
Yeah, if they utilize
Yeah.
if they utilize non-competition agreements, you know, across the board. Let's say, you know, that's just something they use, standard practice.
Well, I don't know that there is any motivation there because if you leave, they can just pass your client off to somebody else.
Oh,
I can't-
can't hear you.
Area.
Thanks. So if you go to them and you say, hey, you know, I've been here for 2 years, I'd like a raise. What happens?
I mean, I'm not really sure. So I guess I'll kind of speak about my experience as of now. So the company that I signed a non-compete for, though those were their clients and I got them from them when I started there. So they had already been working with that company, but then those are my clients for months. And then when I left, there weren't any questions about what could be done differently or, you know, that they didn't want to lose me. It was just, remember that you signed a non-compete and those clients will be staying with us.
I make a quick statement, and this is my personal belief. You line up 10 of us, you'll get 10 different opinions. Supportive behavior services has 0 clients, 0.
Right.
Because supportive behavior services is not tangible. It's not a person, it's not a clinician. We have 0 individuals. Every single BC inside underneath SBS has their own pockets of individuals that they serve, whether it's 2 or 20. SBS or any other agency, you are just a shell. You don't matter. SBS does not matter. So I get what you're saying, Ryan, where you're saying, well, they were theirs. They were never theirs. They're human beings. They never belonged to them. They were being served by a different clinician, not by OBSS, which is where you came from, right?
Yeah.
Threw that out there real fast. It just happened. But somebody else was serving them, right? Another clinician. And then you became the next clinician. And regardless of that pathway, the individuals should always be able to make that choice. I feel like, you know what I'm
I
saying?
agree, Joaquin, and I think specifically with the companies that have non-competes, when one BC is gone, they try to like keep it on the down low and just bring another one in. And what
Mhm.
they're trying to
Yeah.
do is not provide knowledge that the consumer has the right to choose. They're just saying, this is who you're going to get. And most of the time, the population, they don't understand what's happening, or they kind of know, but they trust the company. So they're just trying to kind of move somebody else in without giving the consumer the right to choose.
I call
Sorry.
And
that
how many
treachery.
people actually know the name of the company? Because I'm pretty sure, you know, I still have a caseload, and I don't think if you asked any of them, what is the name of the company I work for, that they would be able to tell you.
They'll say Jennifer.
Yeah.
I want to touch on what Kara said really quick. So that's another thing that's really hard because I don't know what the conversation was surrounding me leaving. I didn't talk to my clients again.
That's a can of worms I can get into.
So I don't know what was said, but they were handed off to another BC, and I did help with the transition, but I helped with the transition behavior consultant to behavior consultant, not involving the consumer in the transition.
Right. They didn't have a choice. So I'm going to jump right back to that in just a moment, Ryan. I want to get Jennifer's
Sorry.
quick thoughts on the same question that I asked you was, Jennifer, what are your thoughts on agencies that utilize these restrictive covenants? What? And I'm asking because I've been pondering it, right? Because we don't use them. And so like I have every incentive to innovate, improve the infrastructure, the environment, the culture, the pay, because I want to keep people. But agencies that utilize all those restrictive covenants, what's their motivation? And I have not figured out what it is.
So what's the point? Like, why do I have to work any harder to make sure that the clients are happy? Why do I have to work any harder to make sure that the VCs are happy? Because, I've just had you sign something that basically has restricted you from leaving here with people. And so unfortunately and I was one of those people. I don't think I have worked anywhere where I signed one, but I would have probably, because I just wouldn't have known coming in as a new behavior.
You don't know, you need a job, you
like,
need revenue, like you gotta make a living.
And it's so, and not every agency does them, obviously, but there's a lot. And so that kind of narrative permeates the whole industry that, well, you cannot tell anyone, you better just contact your case manager, let them know. And then honestly, you can just go. You don't have to serve out your 2 weeks, your 3 weeks, your 4 weeks. Like, you can just go now. And I mean, that is so unprofessional. And it's just,
I absolutely hate it. I mean, that's what it feels like to me, is like when you utilize those restrictive covenants, you're not motivated to give raises, innovate, improve, update, because like what for? If you leave, you're just a number. If Ryan leaves, I'll just have Sally take over it. No.
And aren't you afraid, right? I mean, if you have signed this and it's your time to go and you're kind of aware, gosh, what am I going to do now? I want to continue being a behavior consultant, and this other company is offering a pretty nice deal, but I'm kind of worried about what this company's going to do to me.
In the disabilities industry, like that, like I shouldn't be afraid. Nobody should be afraid. So Ryan, I'm gonna jump back to you because now we're gonna share my screen and we're gonna have a little bit of fun real quick. I'm gonna have to change my audio for a moment because we practiced this and I learned that I have to update my audio settings real quick, and we are going to be listening to something. So we're gonna change this back to my computer speakers. There we go. You guys hear me? Probably not as good because it's on the computer. Yeah, everybody hears me? All right. Let's share my screen. We're going to go here and we're going to listen to this real quick. Volume is turned up. Everybody see this?
Yes.
Who is this?
Okay, so we are going to listen to a voicemail from Jennifer David. She is the owner of Outward Bound Support Services, OBSS, and is the sitting president of the Indiana Association of Behavior Consultants.
Ryan, is this your old boss?
Yeah.
Stand by.
Hey, Ryan, it's Jennifer David. I got your email. Kind of awkward to get it on a Friday afternoon on New Year's Eve, so that's a little bit stressful for us at the moment. I know Brooke tried to reach out to you, and I am as well. So one of us would appreciate a call back, so we kind of know what direction to go in. We do hate to lose you, but I definitely understand if you have others, you got to move on. But I do want to remind you that you have a non-compete with us and that we will be reassigning the clients to other behavior consultants and wanting to work with you for that transition. So I really hope that is not going to be an issue for you. We did bring you on and teach you this job and hopefully gave you some resources and whatnot, and a lot of these clients we've been with for a while. So if you can give me a working call so we can discuss this and plan for a smooth transition for everyone, I would greatly appreciate that. Thanks.
Oof.
I really hope this is not going to be a problem for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Somebody had left me that voicemail. I really hope this isn't going to be a problem for you. How threatening does that feel? I'd like to quick state the reason why we played that. Many reasons why we played that. That is one of a couple voicemails that we have. We actually have a couple of voicemails, emails, text messages from Jennifer David saying these kinds of things. And initial thoughts, Ryan, it was you getting that voicemail. What are your initial thoughts on your own history?
Yeah, so I interviewed with you probably not too far ahead of that. Maybe even it was at the end of December. And I think I told you that I needed some time to think about it, and then I did. I went ahead and gave them a month's notice. So it was sent on New Year's Eve. I don't know if that was the wrong thing to do, but
30
it
days.
was a month's notice.
I will say
And
New
it was
Year's
in
Eve or
writing.
not, the other voicemail that we have, which was very similar, it was a different clinician, different time of year. So like it's not a one-off. To me, that's just a pattern.
So I was thankful. They did teach me a lot. They got me started in the behavior consulting field, and I know that you just said that clients are not a companies, but they did start me with clients, right? But at the same time, now I've been with those clients for the last 5 months, and I have the relationship with them, and I see them once a week. So it's it's almost like hurtful to build a relationship with somebody like that, to build a relationship with a client, and the company is nice to you, nice to you, nice to you until you decide that you're going to leave.
And then the script is flipped.
Yeah.
You know, it's hurtful, right? I'm glad you said that. It's hurtful. It feels hurtful to you, but what about the individuals that were all of a sudden saying, hey, I know we've, and your example is a little bit shorter in time, but imagine some of us who like 3 years, I've been coming to your home for 3 years every week in, week out. We've had great progress. We have a great rapport. And then all of a sudden I'm being told, nope, don't talk to them again, disappear. Imagine how hurt they are. And they will be told by that treacherous company that, oh, your BC just up and left. They're bad. Here's a new one that's good, to manipulate the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Where in fact, where in fact us clinicians, like that's absolutely not what happened. Absolutely not.
So
We all
I
struggle.
I have no idea what the conversation was.
Oh, it truly went. Yeah, you didn't get to be a part of
Yeah.
that narrative.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Jennifer, what are your thoughts on that voicemail?
That's coming from leadership in the behavior consultant community, right?
That's the president of the original
Indiana
association.
ABC, I and ABC.
Yes, that's the standing president.
Leaving like threatening emails like that.
I hope this isn't going to be a problem for you. I can't get over that line.
Using the word reassigning, like they're not
reassign humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gross. I mean, that was the first thing I think when I hear it is I'm grossed out by it.
Kara, Leslie, what are your thoughts hearing that?
I couldn't get past the word reassigning. Where's the right to choose? They're people. Like, that proves that it's driven by money. And honestly, I think with companies, they don't want to lose money, right? And I do understand that, but it's behavior management services. All of the services are here to better someone's life, right? And it kind of goes against everything that we're trying to do. I don't know. The reassigning word just really like, ugh. Leslie, how would that make you feel if you heard somebody saying just to reassign you to someone else? Like, your thoughts, you as a person, you're not taken into consideration. Would that be something that you're okay with?
No, not really.
Yeah, it feels weird.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about you. They just want to reassign you versus letting you follow somebody that you already know.
It's very cold and
It is
impersonal.
Exactly.
And back to what you were saying, Joaquin, there was no conversation about what can we do to hang on to you as a behavior consultant. It was just, we hate to lose you.
Sure. You know what? That's a new point. I appreciate that, because to
Good
me,
point.
That jumps back to my question about what motivates an agency to innovate, improve, pay better, do better. Nothing when, oh, you're leaving? Bye. They're going to Sally now and they have no loss, where agencies who truly compete I am afraid to lose people every day. So I have conversations with all my directors every week. How can we improve this? We did an anonymous annual survey for the entire company, and everything that like received the top votes that were issues got fixed. The referral system fixed. HSBP review fixed. Like, that's the motivation, because if we don't fix things and listen to them, we don't give raises, they're going to go, and they can go. It's a great point, Ryan. Thank you for bringing that up.
It's still a restriction to their rights. I feel like they're being restricted. I don't care which way you word it. If the end result is the individual cannot make the decision to follow the BC, that's a restriction. That's a violation of their rights. Their right to choose.
Oh, well, there were some clients that they were not able to reassign, and I was able to hang on to those, or ask them, tell them where I was going. But the other ones, yeah, they weren't really given a choice.
And what was that copper audit that we participated in not too long ago? One of the auditors said nothing about me without me.
Yeah, you're talking Sarah Van Sickle. She said during our quality on-site provider review, nothing without me, nothing about me without me. And it sounds like reassigning clients is something about me without me.
Yeah.
Even if you go to them and you say, hey, we're reassigning you to this person, it's still some of that, because like that's not real choice. And I don't even like calling it following. Like, you're not following them. You're honestly just not changing anything for an individual as a customer. If I am receiving my service that I choose from this person and I want to continue to do that, nothing changed. All that changed was that shell above. That's a different color logo that, like I said earlier, doesn't matter. Who cares about them? You could go to 100, 200, 400 of the individuals that we serve and say, hey, what company does so-and-so work for? And they're gonna be like, I don't know. I go to Kara. I see Ryan. I see Jennifer. SBS doesn't matter. And so they're not following. They're just continuing their quality service. And somebody's getting in the way of it, in my opinion, for the sake of revenue.
Oh, for sure, for revenue.
And as behavior consultants, they get to know us. We build a relationship. We build a relationship with the family as well. So like when we go, it's not just maybe the person you work with directly. Mom and dad might know you really well, or grandma, or maybe the whole waiver team and the staff are used to you because you've been around for years, and suddenly you just have to disappear, and then a new person reappears. Like,
I think of the regression too. I think of some of my non-vocal consumers who had some higher behaviors, the impact that it had on them. It's day-to-day stuff. It's not just getting out in the community. It's how do I survive throughout the day sometimes? How can I live? And so I have to think that it has just such a profound effect on the most vulnerable.
I completely agree. And so the big reason why I felt like it was important to discuss, the OBSS situation with Jennifer David, which I'll admit is an individual I've never met, never spoken to. But I was a part of Indiana Association of Behavioral Consultants for many, many years. And to think like that's our representative to the state. That's our leader. Takes time out of her day to threaten and bully behavior consultants does not represent us. And so one of the many things that has come up in the last year is a lot of people have come to me and said, what the heck are you doing? Why did you open another association? That is one of the very big reasons why, because our leader and our leadership there historically and currently have been problematic. And we're going to dive into that. I'm going to give everybody a chance to take a breather, use the restroom if you need it, grab a drink, because then we're going to dive into that segment. And I saw a thought spinning, Ryan. You want to get it out before we take a 2-minute?
Yeah. I was just going to say, I knew that when I started working with Jennifer that I was signing a non-compete, right? I was new to the field and I knew that I was signing a non-compete. But the way that the non-compete was executed, I don't think that it was professional.
I respect. I appreciate your truth. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Being new to the field, I think you also don't know when you sign it what that actually means. It means that the consumer's life will be disrupted. And, you know, we're all behavior consultants. We care about the individuals that we serve. So you don't even recognize the impact that it may have at that time.
I completely agree. All right, take two real quick. We're not going to stop the recording, so don't start cussing and talking in secret. Mute yourselves.
We're going
The-
on mute.
Go on mute. The recording is going to stay off cam, but it's going to stay 2 minutes and see y'all back. I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Dang, everybody did go off cam. They all ran away, so everybody gets to watch me for a couple minutes until we pick back up. The reason why we're taking a break, folks, compared to the other ones, is this format, this specific one, like we have a long haul. This is going to be a long one. I'm putting us around 3 hours. So hope those of you who are watching or listening are buckled in, because we're going to be at it for a while.
Are you talking to yourself?
I'm talking to the 17 subscribers because this is recording and going to go on YouTube, remember?
That's my cat.
So no, I'm not talking to myself. I was talking to the viewership.
Hope everybody liked my cat.
Everybody likes cats. It's okay.
I may have to mute myself. I'm pretty sure my dog's gonna start barking. There are people out front.
Just let your dog out to go get those people.
Just open the front door, let her go.
You know, don't restrict her. That hasn't gone through the HRC. You let that dog run.
No restrictions, right?
Right. Well. Oh, this is going to be fun. So, mind y'all, we're still recording. So
I know, I forgot for a second.
I have not. It's a brief intermission, but there's nothing that's going to be said that can't be said or isn't going to be published. Jennifer, you having fun so far?
I am. This is a lot of fun.
Good. Good. You know, one of the things that I will say during this, little intermission is for those, who do end up listening and watching this, like none of this is actually truly fun, right? Like we hate to have to do this, to be in these positions. Like we really wish the industry was more wholesome and worked better. So we didn't have to address these things, but these are legitimate issues that have to be addressed. Welcome back, Ryan.
Agreed.
Hi.
Are we ready to go forth?
Yes,
Yeah.
Leslie was going to take a minute and then get back to us
Have
when.
Leslie rejoin when Leslie's ready? Deal. Okay, so thank y'all for coming back. We're going to pick up where we left off, right? So like I had said, people came to me right after the announcement of the Indiana Behavior Association. Joaquin, why did you make another association? And there's a lot of reasons. There's not just one. It's not just the current president. There's been historical issues with the treatment of behavior consultants by the people involved, the funneling of referrals through INABC and how they're being, narrowly funneled. I'll explain on those things later on. And then, yes, the leadership. So the current president right now is Jennifer David. Like I said earlier, we have the voicemails, emails, text messages of all of that kind of bullying behavior, right? And she is our representative to the state. I don't think that's who I want representing. So we needed a new association, it's a small table right now, but we have the materials, we have the work ethic, we have qualified, great clinicians involved to grow and build that table into a bigger thing. And then eventually it will take real hold. But not just, with Jennifer David. One of the bucks before that was the prior president, was Gina Schenck. She's the director of behavior supports over at Opportunities for Positive Growth. She was the president before Jennifer David, INABC, who also engages in this threatening behavior. And so we're going to have some fun, and I'm going to share my screen real quick to show you all what I'm talking about. Again, remembering in the beginning of this, I talked about how defamation, right, has to be provably false. We're sharing everything to show how it's provably true. So we don't want to, dive into all that. So let's go here. We're going to go to my PDF, and then we're going to jump to, here we go. So this is not the one I wanted to share yet. Hold on. We are going to jump to that one. This one. Here we go. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Wait.
Perfect.
Is this
So
on the OPG one?
yeah. Can you see 9/28/2022?
Yeah, I think my screen froze. Hold on. But continue. It'll catch up.
Okay. So Ryan, Jennifer, you guys can see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why this comes up is, we have issue with the current president. The president prior, Gina Schenck, is the director over there at Opportunities for Positive Growth. And what happened last year is some of their behavior consultants called me up and said, hey, will you meet with us? I said, yeah, sure. They came to me. They said, we're unhappy. We're not getting raises. We're not being treated well. The culture is poor. We would like to leave. Okay. So we interviewed them. They were qualified candidates. We made them job offers. They accepted it. They joined our team. And in response to that, OPG, Gina Schenck, and all of them filed fictitious complaint with BQIS. Now, mind you, look at this date. They filed it 9/20 of 2022. It is February 10th of 2023. This is still ongoing. This is still calling financial damages to supportive behavior services. And in this, the reason why this is imperative, right? These presidents from INABC go on and represent one ideal, but in the back, they behave differently. They filed this complaint to sabotage these three specific behavior consultants in the Lafayette area: Amy Harrell, Laura Reel, Rachel Debelek. Why does Laura have an arrow? Laura Reel was a behavior consultant at Tangram with a full caseload, went to OPG with a full caseload. They loved it. Instant revenue, no complaints. The second she left with the same caseload, because it was the same individual she was serving, they filed this fictitious complaint that attacked us and our policies, attacked those three very
Joaquin,
specific
I feel like we're looking at different things.
Yeah, that's what our screen, like mine isn't moving, but I thought it was just me.
I'm glad
So you're like an arrow. I don't see
you
the
said
arrow.
something here.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
There we
okay, yeah.
go.
There we go. So this is the complaint from 9/20. And they attacked these three BCs, and this is the arrow, right? Laura Reel went over there from Tangram
I see the arrow.
and then took her full caseload to OPG. And when she left OPG with that same caseload, they filed this fictitious complaint that she was soliciting the clients that she brought there. What?
That's-
Yeah.
Attacked our policies, right? So I think what you were seeing was the outcome, right? I said that complaint was filed in September of last year when they started with us. And it is February 10th as of today. It is still an ongoing financial burden. It is costing us a lot. It's been problematic for a while. So in response to that, we had no choice. So I think what you were seeing was this. This was our recent response.
Yeah.
We had to file on January 30th, we filed a civil suit against Opportunities for Positive Growth, the owner, Gail Kale, executive director, Andrea Schwartz, and Gina Schenck, the perpetrators of this illegal act, right? So the big point is the president before Jennifer David of Indiana Association of Behavior Consultants is illegally sabotaging the employment of behavior consultants whom she's supposed to represent, is attacking other BC companies because people applied to work here. We innovated, we pay better, we made it, a great culture, great environment, and are illegally attacking us. The attorney. So this is my handy dandy. If you can see it, it's blurry. It's the DDARS manual. 190 some page DDARS manual. And inside I tucked a page in there about tortious interference. So what we discovered is when you interfere with another business like that, it's called tortious interference. It's illegal. You cannot illegally sabotage our relationship and our business with the state like that. You can't. And so we filed suit, and we're going to be fighting that, for a while.
I would
And I'm
not.
sure that they had said, like, these BCs that came to their company with clients from somewhere else, I'm sure that they were like, you can't do that.
Ooh,
OPG.
Of course.
Right? You can't bring people with you because that's not appropriate.
that's a long-standing hypocrisy in the industry,
Oh, yeah.
right?
It's one of the things that triggers me.
If one of our BCs right now applied at OBSS, at Outward Bound with Jennifer David, or at OPG, or at DDSI with Doug Duggar, if they applied right now, full caseload, they would say, yeah, come on over. And we would do nothing to stop it. I would try to counteroffer you. I shouldn't say every time. I don't always counteroffer. If I think you're a qualified enough consultant, I will counteroffer. And if you still go, you go. And they'll go there with a full caseload, no issue, arms wide open. But the second you try to leave, they attack you, they sabotage you, they try to derail everything. And we have the documents to prove it. We have the fictitious complaints. We've been filing Freedom of Information Act requests to get all of the original complaints so we can demonstrate these are fictitious. They were not evidence-based. There was no testimony from consumers. There was no complaints from consumers. They were just to derail people. And you can't have our association's leadership perpetrating this and then try to represent us at an association and say, hey, I'm here to work with the state to represent the BCs. You don't represent us.
That's
You don't
scary.
represent me. It's
That's so-
terrifying.
Well, and it kind of leads back to consumer choice. It's great if they agree with what I'm doing, but it's not okay if they choose to leave and go somewhere else. It boils down to it being the consumer's choice. And if it's not profiting someone, then they're not okay with it. So just like Jennifer said, when that BC came in with a bunch of clients, yeah, that's great. But then when she tries to leave with those clients, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It was the client's choice then, but it's not okay.
But it's not now. Not now
Right.
that it's hurting you. That's the hypocrisy that's happening. And I will say that a lot of these agencies that are filing these fictitious complaints, in my opinion, they're acting as if they're being oppressed by like us or other well-performing agencies. Like somehow the innovators and the better payers are oppressing the agencies, but all we're doing is outworking and outperforming. We're paying better. We don't lose BCs because when they resign, we say, hey, you can do that. But like, what if we raise you up 2% or whatever? That's it. And so they're acting like they're the victims here, but you're just, what is it? A wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what they say, right? That's what you're doing. You're going in and manipulating the system saying, oh no, they're hurting us. You're hurting yourselves by not doing better, by not being better people, by not working harder, innovating, motivating your leadership team to innovate and be there. Because if you have mass exodus, that's on you. That's not on those BCs. It's my 47 cents right there.
No,
Gotta do a little self-reflection.
I mean, why do these things still exist? Can't beads just, or even informed consent? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like it should not exist. And then we wouldn't have any of these problems because we can't do it.
I mean, you guys tell me, what can we do about it? Like, I'm out here every day preaching and whining and complaining and fighting and fussing and filing lawsuits. That's one thing that's going to start happening. I can say that is why these things are still around. One thing that we've established is we were able to connect it, that it's tortious interference, and we found precedent cases. And so going forward, every time an agency files a retaliatory complaint to Beads, we're going to file a civil suit. And I think after 2 or 3 of those, they're going to stop. They're going to stop, because if you don't, like, it's going to be public. These are public records. You go on mycase.gov and look up any of them, they're public record. They're being sued. And why they're being sued is public record. And then the outcome of that is going to be public record. And so, like, if you don't want to, have that, stop doing that. Like, it's that simple, right?
Just stop doing it to begin with.
Wait, Joaquin, I have a question.
Send it.
How many behavior consultants, just a rough idea, like how many behavior consultants have you taken on that have issues with this, with the non-solicitation or non-compete?
I don't know. Not actually thought of that metric enough
Yeah.
that we got 6 cease and desists in 2022. I don't know, 8, 10 fictitious BQIS complaints in 2022 alone. I don't know.
Yeah, because then when you multiply that out, or when you consider just how many behavior consultants were impacted, then you can really think about how many clients and consumers were impacted.
Oh shoot, I didn't know where you were drawing with that. All right, so
Yeah,
and those are just BCs here at SBS. That's not the industry.
yeah.
Times the
It's
consumers.
really crazy to think about, honestly.
Now that you say that, yeah, that hurts my heart even more. Is
Right.
hundreds of BCs, in my opinion, are afflicted, because there's
Yeah.
probably 1,000 to 1,500 BCs in the state. So I don't know. They all average 12 individuals a person. I don't know what the metric is there. 15 a person.
Yeah.
Hundreds of BCs are impacted. So then thousands of consumers and families are impacted every day. And so one thing that I thought of, Jennifer, you'll remember this for sure. Maybe you too, Kara. In the last episode, we talked about the budgets, right? Like how money is being spent from BMAN providers. And one thing that came to mind is I'm willing to wager across the state of Indiana, approximately 1 million waiver dollars are being spent on just the interagency bullshit. The cease and desist, and then the money spent to fight them back. And then, all of that kind of stuff, I bet you across all the agencies, $1 million a year of waiver dollars are being wasted. That could be better spent hiring BCs, innovating, hiring a quality person, building a playground, doing anything but fighting. We spent thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars last year just fighting all of them back. Now this year, we are already spending thousands of dollars to fight them back. Like it's appalling. I would be willing to bet about 1 million across the industry, 1 million real dollars that's being wasted just so everybody can pitter patter and fight.
Resources. That money could be spent on bettering the lives of individuals.
Anything else but this, treachery. In my opinion, it's a lot of money. Jennifer, what would you do with that extra $1 million if we had it in the budget?
There are so many holes in servicing our individuals, right? Whether it's transportation or staffing for waiver homes, or being able to get people out in the community. Like that for sure for me has been my soapbox, right? Like you work in waiver homes and they can't keep staff, and they
$1 million that could be spent on DSPs.
A lot. Yeah. I would funnel so much of that into residential. I would, to improve the quality of the lives of the people I work with. And I mean, I feel like that's where the quality is really suffering right now, is in the waiver homes.
I think quality is suffering across the board, right? You talk about the waiver homes, but I talk about these companies that use these non-competes. They don't have to improve quality because they don't lose anything if they lose you, the BC. Like Ryan's experience. Oh, we'll just assign them over here, like they're chips on a board. Like, oh, we'll just move them over here. Not how human beings operate. A note that I wrote that I want to say out loud, because it was what my wheels were spinning on when I was thinking about how we're competing. And what I've learned about a lot of these agencies that are struggling to compete in the 2023 market, how they are competing and trying to stop us is crookedly. They file false complaints with beads. They send those cease and desist, and they're trying to build the narrative that they are somehow being oppressed by us outperforming, out innovating, and not recruiting them. And the note that I put in bold: you cannot expect to have the best and be the best unless you are paying, doing, and working the best. Like you can't have that expectation of somehow you're just going to have this magnanimous infrastructure unless you're getting up at 4:30 a.m. with me every day, grinding out 14 hours a day, 6 hours per day on Saturday and Sunday. Unless you are doing the most, you can't hold the expectation that you're somehow going to just like bully your way into success,
Well, and
in my
we talked
opinion.
about the pressure that BC's kind of within those companies, what they have on them to bill. So consumers aren't getting the best services. Their BCs aren't present with the individual. They are so worried about hitting that goal, that monthly goal, that I don't know, they're not giving quality services. They're just trying to go through the motions. And so I think it's more than just that, but that was the old podcast.
And the next one, when we talk about the next one, we'll get there. So you guys want to listen to another audio?
Sure.
Ryan, did
But
you know there was a second one?
No, I didn't. Let's hear it.
I love genuine
Surprises.
reactions. Yeah, there we go.
Surprises.
All right, if we're ready, we're gonna move on to the next thing. Let me get my screen here. Hopefully I do it right this time. This whole sharing my screen thing is, I'm not perfect with it. So here we go. All right, we'll listen to this and then we'll get some initial reactions. All right, hold on. Let me go back to, I gotta switch my audio again. Glad I remembered this time. You guys hear it better when I switch my audio is why I'm doing that. Because I am new to this, so I don't have all the technology figured out, and I'm okay with that. I don't care. You guys can hear me good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go.
I can't hear the audio.
Hear it. Can't hear it.
Tracy Gibson, CEO with Embracing Abilities. How are you? I want to let you know that Nikki Marshall on the phone with us. She is our compliance officer here at Medicaid.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Hi. Give you a courtesy call that we had in your way.
I can't hear any of that.
Give you a heads up that we have talked.
Yeah, I can't hear it.
Can you restart it?
I think it's playing from your mic.
You're getting feedback?
Leslie?
I think it's playing from your mic, Joaquin. I don't think we can hear it.
One moment, please.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I couldn't hear
I
it.
know. I didn't want to either.
Everyone else could.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
It is a little hard to hear too, because it kind of breaks up a little bit here and there. So I mean, you probably won't catch all of it.
All right, now let's try it. Let me I won't even share my screen, I'll just play it. We hear that? Hello?
Is this Joaquin?
Yeah, this is.
Hey, this is Tracy Gibson, CEO with Embracing Abilities. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Tracy?
Good, I'm good. I want to let you know that I also have Nikki Bartak on the phone with us. She is our compliance officer here at EA.
Okay. What can I do for you?
Okay. Sure. I'm going to let Nikki talk real quick.
Okay.
Hi, this is Nikki. Hey, we wanted to call and give you a courtesy call that we had a behaviorist that was recently employed with us that's no longer employed with us that we believe is coming your way.
Okay.
And we wanted to give you a heads up that we have talked with the AG's office, with EQIS, and Matt Broadway, that we have serious concerns and that we have opened up multiple investigations on him.
Okay.
We wanted to let you know that we were that was happening, so you would be aware of that.
Okay. Thanks for making me aware. All right. Well,
I'm sure you'll be getting some things in the future, so we just wanted to let you know we didn't want you to be surprised by it.
okay. Well, thank you. Was that everything, or is there anything else?
No, that was it. Just a courtesy, so that when it starts coming your way, you kind of have a heads up.
It all comes my way. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a great weekend.
All right. Let me swap my audio back. That's the last thing for today. We're gonna save some.
Can't hear you now.
How about now?
Yes.
Perfect. So a little backstory. I got lucky. So I got real lucky. So I knew she was going to call because she had emailed the company email ahead of time. She played her hand too quickly. So backstory, right? We had another person on Indeed, Eric. He's still with us years later. He applied on Indeed. We interviewed him, qualified candidate, hired him. And like 3 days after hiring him, I get an email from Tracy Gibson that she wants to talk to me. And before I even have a chance to respond to that email, I'm driving down to the ABA center that I co-own. And the person I was seeing at the time was in the passenger seat. And when it comes up on the screen that I'm getting that call, she was like, take it, I'm going to record it. And so I got lucky and was able to catch that, right? So what you all just heard was Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver Gibson, the owner of Embracing Abilities, with somebody who works for her, calling me to basically tell me to sabotage, literally illegally sabotage somebody's employment, because you can't do that. Human resources can't do that. You cannot do these things. To sabotage his employment, said that they were filing complaints with the Attorney General's office, with Matt Rodway, Beads. They did file a complaint with Beads. And real quick, before I get all of your guys' initial thoughts. Oh, here we go. There it is. All right. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see it. Let me know if you can see this. See if I get this sharing the screen correctly. You see this?
Yes.
All right. So she did, in fact, file a complaint with BQIS like they do, right? The retaliatory complaints, and no evidence was found against Eric, and it was closed, right? No evidence.
Did they have these concerns and file these complaints when he was there, or was it just after he turned in his notice?
It was just after he turned in his notice.
Odd timing.
Odd
For them.
timing, I would
Right.
say. So yeah, that Kara, is that your initial thought? Odd timing?
I think it's extremely odd timing, and it just boils back down to money, because it's fine if that's happening. It's not an issue.
It wasn't happening until he resigned.
Correct. And
Mhm.
yeah, odd timing.
So Jennifer, what are your initial thoughts?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say that Eric's been with us and on my team for a couple years, and not one complaint, not
Not
from a
one.
client, not from a family, not from a case manager. He has his documentation done on time. It's done well. Never ever had an issue with Eric since he's been here.
And BQIS investigated and didn't find one either, by the way. Ryan, what are your
Right.
initial thoughts after hearing that recording?
After hearing the recording,
Yeah.
well, I want to know how they knew that he was coming to supportive behavior services.
I can answer that.
Let's hear it.
NOAs. So whenever an NOA happens,
Oh,
whenever it happens, whether it's you add or you change or whatever, all parties get one. And so you open it and you look and you see the closure from Embracing Abilities, the opening of SBS. Bam, she emailed the company email. And before I could reply, called me on my cell phone.
okay.
Yep.
And then, so what was it that he was doing in terms of solicitation? Was he just saying that he was going to supportive behavior services? Because I know that you and I have had that discussion about verbiage of when you tell a client where you're going.
Sure, you can tell people the truth, like I said earlier, but you can't say, hey, I'm going to go there, please come with, right? Like that's, you have to, the verbiage, like you just said. And so according to him and according to the closed investigation, unfounded, he told case managers and families the truth. I've put in my notice here, I'm going to go work here. And that was it. And it was unfounded. And to me, forget about that complaint. The point was the phone call. The phone call was to call me, scare me. Oh no, I'm going to rescind his job offer. And now all of those clients have nobody to follow, right? And so then they're going to stay at Embracing Abilities.
How petty.
Yes, but also he has a right to choose new employment. He has a right to choose. We have to work. Like that's point blank. And
Where
if
works for
he-
you?
Yes, correct. So if he wanted to come and work for you, that is his choice.
That's his prerogative. And, like I said, we interviewed him and many others, and I have the right to grow my business and hire qualified candidates. And if you want to interview and you're a qualified candidate, we can give you an offer. And these shouldn't be the result. That is illegal to sabotage employment like that. And I think Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver Gibson, is smart enough to have her employee say those statements, because she'll throw her under the bus if that ever came to light.
Interesting too.
Completely illegal. And I'm sure that's why she had her employee do it.
I think Leslie has some thoughts, maybe.
Give
That
them to me, please.
I was gonna say, but you already got to it. It sounded like that they were trying to scare you, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly what you said. But
You got
Yeah.
that feeling too, though?
yeah, I did.
I feel like they tried to scare me before they knew who I was, because I don't scare too easy. Unless it's a scary movie, because I'm not watching those. But other than that, like, it takes a lot more than a phone call to scare me, you know.
Is it not ironic that we are behavior consultants in behavior management companies exhibiting that kind of behavior? Like, that just,
Irony is a word that you could use to explain this. I
Right.
have a few others,
yeah.
but you know, like bullshit. But you know, I can't get too carried away with my cussing.
in ABC too, the lady, kind of the same thing.
100%. Same tactics. So we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, because this saga doesn't end, right? This saga is just beginning. So that was number one, right? Eric applied on Indeed. Like, he just applied, interviewed, hired, no big deal. Get the phone call, get the complaint is unfounded, we move on with our lives. Then another person later on applies, Ellie. She applies on Indeed, interview her, well qualified candidate, bilingual, so we speak Spanish like heck yeah, gets an offer, accepts it, right? This is where things get fun. So let's see if I can share the screen properly. So the first thing that came, y'all see this?
Yes.
Okay. So here's, the complaint that they filed. Again, fictitious and retaliatory, because there was no evidence. They didn't supply evidence, right? So they make this complaint to BQIS, to Beads, and this is against Ellie and all these consumers, and Beads did not find any violations, right? So another fictitious complaint down the drain. It gets worse. When that didn't work, find it real quick. Okay, I gotta go back to my PDF. I'm bouncing back between PDFs and Word documents. This one. Okay. So when that didn't work, this is what Tracy did. Now, for those 17 subscribers at home, take a moment, when you get a chance, pause your screen to read it all. I'm not going to stay on it too long, but when that complaint didn't work, Tracy Gibson wrote this letter and sent it to all the families and case managers being served by that BC, saying all this, but we do have a procedure in place to allow continuation of services elsewhere. First of all, you don't get to allow or disallow services elsewhere.
Right.
You can shop for your services wherever you want. However, as the procedures were not followed and clear solicitation is evident, that investigation was closed. There was no evidence.
Right.
And then due to Ellie's lack of regard to protection state, blah, 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 embracing, pursue legal remedies, blah. Sincerely, Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver Gibson, right? So, Jennifer, you like my new nicknames?
I like that.
So it still gets worse, guys. So the fictitious complaint didn't work. She sent a letter to families and case managers. It didn't work. Kara, you have a thought?
Like, families don't have enough going on. They don't care about the politics. Like, they don't
Yeah.
care. They do not care. It's weird. It's a weird pressure to put on them for them to
Right.
care, for them to deal with it. They don't need it.
That's
completely agree.
also my concern, Kara, because like Jennifer said, like, you're the point of contact. So they don't even know who you work for most of the time, or who you're working through. And it's also like, okay, so we transition you to somebody else, or we allow you to continue services elsewhere. Then that's a whole other process of intakes, restating your story, starting services all over again, going over behaviors over again, and when they could have just continued services.
Regression, yeah, things like that with behaviors.
Yes,
But-
and dealing with the politics on top of it.
I completely want to fight that. Like, and I know I missaid it earlier, but like, we're not following. You're just continuing. You're just saying, I want to be with that person. And I said it earlier too, but that's something I want to like get out of the habit of saying, is like, oh, you're not following.
Well, in any covenant that does not allow a consumer to follow is just a restriction. Like, their rights are being violated. They should be able to continue services. That should be the normal.
Oh, I
Mhm.
agree. So, next, right? Because that rabbit hole's not done, right? That specific line. So, fictitious complaint, letter to family and case managers. This is a fun little tidbit. So, Tracy, let me zoom out. This is kind of in your face. Maybe. There we go. Okay, you guys see all this? So Tracy sends us this email, and for those 17 subscribers, make sure you pause and read it all. But basically says, I'm deeply disappointed that you behaved unethical, sanctimonious decisions to your deceit and solicitation. It's like the voicemail that Jennifer left Ryan, but instead of a voicemail, it's an email, right? It's just a bullying, it's a threat. Blah blah
This is
blah blah
definitely
blah.
high level though.
It's the chief executive officer. It's the owner of the company. You will be receiving correspondence from our corporate lawyer, BQIS, and the BACB as complaints, stock, right? Like, it's just
Wow.
blah, 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 right? So, pause
My
this at a,
Wait, can you scroll back down? My
uh,
favorite part was when she used the word ethical,
oh, sure.
because it's funny.
Yeah. So that's next, guys. And if you're not tired of that already, we're not done yet. So you guys ready for the next one?
Mhm.
None of that has worked, right? Thick skin over here, thick, heavily tattooed skin. None of that's working. Backing these BCs all day, every day. That's the job, right? Here's what comes next. The infamous cease and desist, which is the namesake of this podcast, because this is such an industry norm, and I'm gonna fight it every day that I am breathing. This is trash. So Tracy Gibson has, her law firm apparently that she uses, Taft, which I've used them before as well. Big reputable law firm. They send her, our law firm represents embracing abilities. Recently, you abruptly resigned your employment with EAI. It appears you're leaving work to work with other former EAI. I think they're referring to Eric. Employees at one of EA's competitors, blah, blah, blah. Those of you at home, you can pause and, read this. Look at the dates. This was sent, last year. So then, now she's increased, she's escalated. Now it's a cease and desist, which we, retained a new attorney from Indy to fight that, because I use my Lafayette one for most things. But like, if it's out of town, I'm not meeting out of town. So we get a different attorney who've pushed back and fought back. And it mostly went away. You know what I mean? Like, mostly. The saga with embracing abilities is not over. But that is the experience. Ellie, who's been on our team ever since and is doing great work, that's what she experienced when all she did was change employment. Like Ryan said, you should be able to. And then individuals that had been working with her were like, hey, I want to keep working with her. No counter offer. No, hey, how can we keep you? Just, we're going to come after you. We're going to come after your license.
No,
So,
bullying.
thoughts and feelings?
It just feels like individuals are still being controlled. Like, companies are like, these are my individuals. These are my individuals. They're the companies. No, they're not. That's just what I go back to every time, because individuals should have the right to choose. That's just where my mind's going to go each and every time.
Leslie, you got a particular feeling about what you just read and heard?
I don't know. It is.
How would it make you feel if somebody talked about you that way, or if you read something where it kind of felt like companies were mad because you weren't bringing in profit?
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Well, because it's kind of profiting off of somebody's disability.
And don't get me wrong, you're gonna line up a bunch of us, and people are gonna talk about, well, we have bills, we have this and that. I don't disagree, right? I'm not coming from a perspective who doesn't know. I know we have bills. We pay those bills just fine while still paying everybody the best and being the best. It's clearly possible. We've been doing it for
Yes,
years and
yeah.
years. Oh, easily. It doesn't just exist. It's easy. It is easy. The other people I have learned and why I'm passionate about it is like when you peel the veil back of how the bad actors at INABC and all the profiteering, when you peel that veil back and you really see it, you're like, wait a minute, everybody's full of shit. Not everybody.
It does
Many
make-
people are.
Yeah, it does.
Through
They
all of
don't-
our experiences. And I wish I could tell you guys that the Embracing Ability saga is over, but it's not. Right, Ryan?
No comment.
No comment. So, the cease and desist didn't work. And so what happened in the aftermath of that is Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver, Gibson, all of those sabotage attempts failed. The legal sabotage of Eric's job, those threats, bullying, we're going to call the attorney general, your licensure, whatever. She decided to up her pay, which is good. We need that across the board. She decided to up her pay and she decided to start recruiting all of the SBS BCs, which is fine, Recruitment is perfectly legal. It's ethical. Recruit. If you've got an offer to bring to the table, bring it to the table and let those grown adults make their decisions. And
Too bad they didn't start.
agreed. It is too bad they didn't start that way, but hey, you know what? You're learning, you're improving,
Yeah.
you're changing. Fine. I'll take it. Right. Sort of. So that's great. And so she went on LinkedIn, Facebook, and she started just messaging everybody that she could find that was tagged to SBS. That's cool. They're grown-ups. They'll make their own decisions. I might counteroffer them if I think that they're worthy of a counteroffer, right? I'll make my own decisions as well. And so where this circles back to like those earlier hypocrisy conversations, we had a BC who took her offer. And that BC left supportive behavior services, gave like a week's notice. I don't care about notice. I know that's a very millennial thing. And some people are going to hear that and be like, what? I don't care about notice. If you can give me an hour's notice, I'll take it. If you can give me a month's notice, I'll take it. When people give notice, however long that is, nothing great tends to happen in that time frame. So like you give me anywhere from like a day to a week, I'll be happy because that just gives us time to close things out effectively. But like notice is for the employer, not for the person. And like, I don't need a month's notice, but anywho, she gave us about a week and change notice. Great. Thank you. Take it. Right. She left supportive behavior services for Embracing Abilities, took her entire caseload with her. We did nothing. We'll do nothing. I counteroffered the crap out of it. Like more so than I honestly probably would have normally. She still went. Cool. Your choice. And did Tracy file a fictitious complaint with Beads? No. Did she send that BC a cease and desist? No, because Tracy and Embracing Abilities only cares, like when we demonstrated with OPG, they only care when you're outbound, not when you're inbound. When you're inbound, we don't care about
Come on
clients'
over.
rights, bring the revenue. But when you're outbound, we actually care about the rights of the individuals. We just want to make sure they're protected.
Right.
You're full of shit. It's a hypocrisy.
I know who you're talking about, who left. I, with an honest heart, could not take my caseload, the families that I see every single day, I could not take them to a company that I know has a history of treating families poorly.
And that's complicated. You never
It is,
know.
yeah.
You never know. Sometimes you might have a good outcome, or maybe, you get promised something. I don't know. You don't know. Or maybe
Yeah,
she's,
so I did talk to them a little bit. I did talk to Kelly. And I do like some of the things that they offer. I mean, they have a space that you can take your clients. They have a summer camp. They do offer some really good things in that
good competition there.
realm. The pay was pretty good too, but after I read those things and I saw those things,
You
I
didn't
knew
even
that
know
I
about
could
the,
not,
oh no, you didn't know about the phone call.
I knew that I could not involve myself in that.
I mean, you can't trust them, right? Like as nice as it sounds, like, are they going to do that to you if you want to change something down the road? If your life changes and you want to go somewhere else a couple years, what's going to happen then?
Yeah, well, and I don't know everything that went on, obviously. I'm just hearing these and seeing these, but when you think about it, like, okay, so if I make a mistake, is that how I'm going to be treated? Is it like you're nice to me until something happens?
Until you stop making them revenue.
What's that term? Bait and switch?
Bait and switch, yeah.
Okay,
what's
Joaquin,
happening.
I have to go, Joaquin.
Ah, yes, I remember now. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Ryan, do you have any quick final thoughts before you run away?
I don't think so. I'll listen to it once you guys get this posted. I'll listen to the rest.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you.
Ryan.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So, yeah, right. To me, it's the hypocrisy under the guise of altruism. Everybody wants to preach, and they try to recruit all the SBSBCs and mask it under that guise, right? Oh, we're just being altruistic. We genuinely care about the outcomes of the individuals, and so we just wanted to make sure that they were safe and protected. That's why we sent a cease and desist, filed those complaints with Beats. But you didn't do that when one of our BCs went to you with a full caseload. We definitely didn't. I text her afterwards, like, "Are you still happy? Because you can come back." Like, that's how it should be.
The individual didn't feel safe, they wouldn't want to follow. Well, continue. Sorry, I corrected myself. Not follow.
Right.
Continue.
That's just my new thing on that.
But they wouldn't end services where they are to continue services with somebody that they're unhappy with. That just doesn't add up.
Agreed. You know, and so like a lot of these hypocrisies that we're bringing to light, like I'm making it my mission, like it or not, in this industry to fight back, because the weaponizing of the BQIS, complaint system is not meant for this. It's not meant for the pitter patter and what I'm estimating $1 million of wasted revenue amongst the industry to bully each other. And so that's why we took the route of having to fight back, because we were able to prove that they tortiously interfered and illegally interfered with our company, and that these complaints are hypocritical but fictitious. And on that hypocritical thing, there's other avenues that this is perpetrated. So like back to DDSI, they have a reputation in the industry that if you are a consumer of theirs and you make the choice, so Leslie, if you'll forgive me, if Leslie was, getting services through somebody at DDSI and made the choice to go somewhere else, they will file an incident report to sabotage that choice.
Yeah.
But if 1 or 50 individuals make the choice to get services from them, there's no incident report.
Yeah.
You only care when it's outbound. You never care when it's inbound. And that, it's just hypocrisy.
And I think of like the threats. Okay, we're going to file a complaint with BQIS or Beats. Do it. Please do it, because they'll see that all of the services, they were great. The consumer felt respected, all of those things. They'll see that you're the bad guy. Like you're trying to prevent a consumer from continuing services.
I hear that, but like, this isn't new. That's what like concerns me. Since you brought that up, Kara, that's what concerns me. And it's a genuine concern. And Jennifer's heard me complain about this for years and years, but these behaviors, these actions are not new. They've been perpetrated for years and years. Bridges of Indiana has a reputation for doing this for years and years. And with the Freedom of Information Act request, we're starting to be able to establish a pattern, right? We're able to pull the original complaints to show, wait a minute, you have filed 12 of these, 20 of these, whatever it may be. We're working on developing those patterns, but we're able to see that like this has been a long-standing mechanism of the inappropriate use. And I want to believe that like BQIS and Beats has to be tired of it. Why are they still facilitating it?
Yeah, I mean, they should be tired of it. And I think
would assume
things that slip through the cracks, things that they actually need to be reviewing.
Yes.
Those
It's
aren't just-
tying up them and their resources to be, investigating these fictitious reports when they could be investigating things they need to investigate. And that's got to be so frustrating.
you would
misuse.
think, this one, now that Bridges came up, which we're going to talk about them more at the next taping, this is years ago. This is old. One thing, for the 17 subscribers who are viewing this and wondering how I have all of this is like, it's 2% of what we have. But read this. Also, we're catching wind that you're calling consumer. You can do that. Stop, as this is solicitation. No, it's not. It has to be an incident reported. No, it doesn't. It's against code of ethics. Whose code of ethics? Right. So anywho, one thing that has started to happen in the industry, this has been happening for years, but it's like exploding in the last year, is across the state, people send me this stuff. like on any given week, people forward me emails, send me screenshots, send me whatever, emails, handbooks, and they send it to me and they're like, can you look at this? Sure, if you want, you know? And so like we literally have an archive of just like the bad actors, provably, demonstratably acting bad, not conjecture, not rumors, not, you know, gossip. We show it to you on paper. It's not defamation. It's truth. It's facts. And so our mission is to like get this to stop, either by asking, which hasn't worked, or forcibly by, if you file fictitious complaints, we're going to sue. We're going to push back. If I actually wrote a little note, right? I'm going to read my little note. I wrote this out so I didn't lose this thought. We are going to expose the treachery and sabotage. If you file false and retaliatory beats complaints, we're going to expose you and fight back. If you send bullying emails, phone calls, or texts, we will expose you. If you send letters to case managers or families to sabotage, we will expose you. If you send cease and desist to bully, we'll publish them. And I mean that. I mean that because if you don't want to feel shame or embarrassment, stop doing things that would lead to that.
Yeah.
You know?
And if they're not happy about those things being shown, that has to say something, right?
Oh, well, that brings me to another thought I had. They try to hide it to consumers. They want to hide all of that stuff to consumers. I was with somebody at Happy Hounds, which is, if you're listening, 17 subscribers, you should check it out. It's awesome. But they actually, we got into conversation, long story short, it wasn't a negative, you know, conversation, but that her brother was actually a individual who received services at DDSI. And she did not know. And to my knowledge, they still have that agreement, the covenant, whatever you want to call it, the non-compete.
Probably.
And she did not know that they did that because she disagreed with the non-competes. And I was like,
but you don't know.
But you don't know.
I love that you said that. So be those 17 subscribers, be on the lookout for the March issue, the Special Needs Living magazine. There's an interview in there that is going to be worth reading, but towards the end of that interview, there's a very specific line that says, before selecting your company, because you have choice, right? So before selecting, ask them, do you use restrictive covenants that will impact me later if I choose to work with that person? Ask them. Families, ask them. Ask them. And if they don't choose them, choose one that does it. And then that, I think, will also help push us in the better direction of not using those restrictive covenants.
It comes down to informed consent, right? So why, I mean, if beads can't get involved and they can't prohibit companies from using these,
they sure can investigate on their behalf, though.
Right.
I still feel like it's the consumer's right to know, to have that knowledge. I mean, add it into the annual documents, add it somewhere so they know.
Yeah, because to me, the individuals who are choosing that company for service and that's not up at the front, that feels exploitative.
I agree. It's manipulation. For profit.
You know, for the profiteering.
Everything leads back to profit. I know, I can't.
And I hate that in this industry. I think I said that in episode 2, where like, if you're in this business for business, you're in the wrong business, because you're going to have to contend with the likes of us at SBS. And there's more. So one of the things that I think people in the industry don't realize is we've gotten big enough that we've branched out. And so since SBS was birthed or whatever opened, we've had 2 approved waiver agencies from individuals like-minded BCs who are family, have branched out and opened their own agencies. And by the end of this year, there's going to be 2 more. So we're going to roll into 2024 with 4 approved agencies that are brothers and sisters, arm in arm with SBS. And next year, some more, right? So we're growing in our network, in our teamwork. And then there's the existing agencies who agree with us and are you know, of the same like-mindedness. And
they're out there, right?
They are, and they reach out pretty regularly. And then the new ones that are spawning, you know, like I encourage it. And I've called the BCs. Anytime I hear that one of my BCs at SBS, I say mine, they're not mine. When I hear a BC is like looking into becoming their own waiver provider, I call them and how can I help you? What do you need?
Mhm.
You know, I called one of ours on your team just last week or 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, whenever you're ready to sit down and have some grind out sessions, you know, we can meet on Zoom, because there's stuff you have to grind out, right? You have to, you know, write this, put this together. I'll walk you through it, because that's a like-minded clinician. So when they open their agency, we have a teammate. You know, I don't care if it's competition. We have a teammate, because they are going to engage in those proper and appropriate,
Right.
you know, service delivery.
Hey, Joaquin, all of this conversation actually triggered a memory for Leslie, that I think we should also talk about, if that is okay.
I'm here for whatever Leslie would like to talk about.
Yep.
Well, I'll give a little backstory. So after, you know, I put in my notice, left the old company I was at,
What company was that?
DSI, there
Oh.
was a complaint made that a case manager I was working with was basically soliciting, like pushing people my way, when really it was, she had consumers who needed services, and she said, I know somebody with an open caseload, interview with them, kind of.
It sounds like a referral to me.
Correct. And somebody actually called Leslie.
Yeah, so I got a random call asking me about my case manager at the time. I think I remember it being like, was she like
trying to talk you into
trying to talk me into something. I don't exactly remember specifically,
It's
but
okay.
it was just something that I remembered that was really weird, and I felt really uncomfortable about it.
So I think I actually know what this is. I think an IR was filed after I left my old company, saying that the consumer was being manipulated, and that's why
Only when they leave, right, Jennifer?
and that's why they wanted to end services. And so I do think that Beads did their, or BQIs, I don't know who it was, did their due diligence to see if that was the case.
I didn't know that. I didn't have
Okay.
that. I didn't have a copy of that. Normally the provider gets a copy.
No,
I
but
didn't have a copy of that.
it was old provider, not new provider.
Sure, but since you're with the new
Oh,
provider,
I see.
we get one too. Normally, I don't recall that one though, and I'm pretty good about recalling these, because, as you know, I have an archive and I save everything. But you know, Leslie, I'm sorry you had to go through that. So not only did you lose a clinician you were working with, you had to deal with an investigation that should not have impacted you. You know,
It was
Right.
really weird, and I said no, things were fine. I don't know what they were talking about.
Yeah. So it just causes confusion.
That was all that was to the
Mhm.
that was all it was to the phone call. It was a very short phone call.
one thing that I've repeated, and so for those in the industry who know Dr. Dallas Mulvaney, great dude, super jealous of his life. I want to spend as much time in Florida as he does. But one of the things that, like, he had said to me, and I quoted him once, and then like 11 other people who know Dallas are like, I heard him say that too, is he always said, if you do good work, the money will come. He always said that. He said that out loud. And it stuck with me. And like I said, I'd say that to somebody who also knows Dallas, and they'd be like, I heard him say that too. And that is something that always spins in my head when we think about all these tactics, the IRs, the false complaints, the cease and desist, the letters, the threats. It's all about money and profiteering. I think a little bit of ego and pride plays into that, of course. But like, if you just do good work, you'll be fine. You just hustle. You just wake up and you're like, all right, these are good. How do we get them better? It'll come. You'll attract the right people, and those people will make everything great. Like when people come and talk to me, hey, how did SBS get so big? It's because of the directors, not because of me. I opened it, but the directors built SBS to be the largest, not me. I just had, my hustle attracted great directors who then they went out and were like, we got this. And I think that's what a lot of the industry needs to understand is like, if you put that hard work and that positivity and that genuine, like, good work out there, like it'll come back in money and in karma and energy and relationships. Like I could call a number of practitioners and agencies across almost any part of this state and be like, hey, we need help with X. It's yours. You know, we had a copper audit, Jennifer, and I called up a day program. Hey, we don't have office space. Can we borrow some? Yeah, go ahead. How long do you need it for? It's yours. You know, because you develop those genuine relationships of like, we work together, we rely on each other, and we're all doing good, great work together.
Right.
Little Dallas.
I think people are starting to recognize that SBS, I mean, you're fighting for good things. SBS in general, we're all fighting for the right things. And so people start to pick up on that.
I hope so. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine not terribly long ago because he's not in the industry. And he's been friends with me for like 25 years. And he's known me well enough to be like, all right, man, like I get you're into all this, but like why? You know, and for me, I explained to him as I'm getting older, you know, these 30s are hurting. I explained to him that I find it to be my responsibility. And so like I started to really kind of digest what that means to me. And what I broke it down to is I feel like I have 3 duties in this life, 3 responsibilities. And my first one is to myself. I wake up every day bright and early and take care of myself. You know, I work out, hydrate, I do all the things, I eat right, I do all the things that take care of me. Physically, mentally, spiritually, like I take care of me. I am number 1, I'm whole. And I say it that way because when I am whole and I am good, my second duty is to my family. And my family, everybody's family is different, but my family is my mother, my sisters, 7 nieces and nephews.
Oh my
gosh. I think the 8th is due in April. I think I can't
Just
count
a
them
bunch
anymore.
after, just a bunch.
It's a whole litter. And so like I can't be the best possible person to make sure that my duty is fulfilled in helping and being there for all of them if I'm not whole. So I'm whole. I make sure my family's whole, and family's different for everybody. And then my third duty is my community. And I have been in Lafayette, Indiana my entire life except for college, and lived in Indiana my entire life. So my community is Lafayette and is Indiana. And so it is my duty. It's not just a choice. It's my responsibility. I'm taken care of. Make sure my family's whole. Make sure your community's whole. And I'm aware, I'm not naive. I can't do it all, but I can do a lot, and I'm going to do a lot. And so to me, when I look at the other providers and the other people, it's like you have a responsibility, and you're undercutting yourself, you're undercutting the community, the individuals, everybody when you do these things.
Right.
And I think that's what I struggle with the most, because to me it's so concrete. It's not even a choice, like it's a duty to do these things, to behave like this. And then for them, it's like, why are you making these choices? Because they're contradictory to your duty. And that's where like my brain struggles. You know, that's why I pace the hallway in the house, like, what is happening? Why does it click for me, but like it doesn't click for, I don't know. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk real quick.
You don't keep people and serve people with cease and desists and bequest reports, right? I mean, like that is just going to taint your company, and people are not going to want to stay there, and they're going to be angry, and they're going to feel that resentment, and possibly clients as well if they know about it. So, I mean, how is that serving them as a company?
I've always felt like what you put out there will come back to you. Whether it's tomorrow, in a month, in a year, in 5 years, in 7 years, like the what do they say? The chickens always come to roost or whatever. Like Kara's like, I don't know. I feel like,
and I've never heard that.
listen,
so
Gen Z, us millennials have cool sayings.
I'll Google it.
So something like that, the chickens always come to roost. I'm telling you, that's a saying. If somebody out 17 subscribers, somebody comment and tell me what it really is. But like, the idea of karma, like to me, what you put out there comes around. It just might not be immediate, right? It might be delayed. It might be 5 years from now, but like the things that you're doing out there, they'll come around. People are going to find out what you do. People are going to find out what you do. I don't know if I've told you guys about this, but in the light of people are going to find out what you do you guys want to know something that I've been doing as well? Curious?
I mean,
so I'm a firm believer that like if you're going to be a piece of shit, like I'm going to tell people. And so like with instances like with Embracing Abilities and Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver Gibson, if you're going to engage in these activities, do you guys remember that email I sent out to the entire BC team with all the attachments saying, hey, this is, if you want to go there, but make an informed decision. Here's the cease and
What they
desist, the
do.
complaints. If you go there, you can go there because we had a BC go there, right? So like you can go there with no issue, but here's an informed, right? One thing that I didn't tell people is there were more people blind carbon copied on that because the internet, right? Us millennials, the internet is a beautiful thing, right? Like once I got past the 1996 dial-up, like this thing is great. I found the email addresses to the Avon Chamber of Commerce, to the mayor's office, to the clerk's office, all the local pastors. Like I would go to the church's website, get their contact emails. The local newspaper in Avon, there was probably 40 emails of local businesses. Like I looked on Google Maps, right? Where are you located? Let me find the local businesses around you. Churches, in case you have a pastor, and then the business side of it, the Chamber of Commerce, all of them. And I sent that same email to all of them. If you are going to engage in these nefarious activities, we're going to tell everybody, your community, the people that you pray to, wherever, because if you don't like that, stop doing it.
Right.
Stop being that person. Because if somebody came to me and said, Joaquin, I'm going to tell everybody what you're doing. Okay. I'm telling them too. I have a few modes of, communicating. I've got this, podcast is up and running. We've got a magazine that's up there. I love those issues. Thanks, Jamie. But we're telling them too. Tell them what I'm doing. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of that, I had some families who like in years prior, they have done the Embracing Abilities summer camp. And this year they're trying to get registered and they're wanting feedback. And it's tough. It's like,
Puts us in a conundrum.
do you know where you're sending your child?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That one's tough because I'd like to think that they're going to treat those children well, regardless of all of these things. But it is a conundrum.
That's the hope. That is the hope, that there are good clinicians and good people who are actually out there doing the work. And
is there non-competes with other summer camps, or can you go to multiple summer camps? I'm just curious.
Can you bounce around between summer camps if you choose to? See, that's and don't get me wrong,
Summer camps get cease and desists.
Well, okay. So on that light, we're not going to dive into this part too deeply, but we've been isolating on behavior consultants because that's, what we are here. But the music therapists deal with it too. I have had music therapists send me their, paperwork. Rec therapists deal with it too. We're talking about us because that's our world, but this is a waiver problem.
It just needs to be done. They don't exist here.
I mean, we're trying. We don't have them here because
decision.
I agree. So one of my little quotes, author unknown, it was a young guy, but like I didn't have his name when I listened to it and I wrote it down, but it made me think of this. The moment you gain some agency, some strength, some ability, and you decide to use it to be a tyrannical jerk to another person, guess what? You're going to be met with contention. Good people are not just going to sit by and allow you to use your ability to do ill towards others. And I listened to that, and it was this young guy. He's probably in his early 20s, and I wrote it down. Wish I could quote him. His name wasn't there. But I thought of that, and I just thought about these agencies. Like, you have the power and the ability to do a lot of great work, and you don't have to do this extra stuff. Like, you can take your wins with your losses. We've lost BCs. We just lost one 10 days ago to Embracing Abilities. So what? Move on. It's not
people are going to move around. They're going to come to you. They're going to leave. More are going to come. They're going to go. I mean, like, you shouldn't take it personally, right? And I mean, I feel like sometimes you can really see how it's being taken personally.
You think so? Yeah. You think that's yeah, I can see that. Maybe that part.
Well, for EA, I think for EA, it's been personal.
It feels that way, and I hate to phrase it this way, but it feels like a Mean Girls club. It's like, as long as you're in the clique, you're going to be okay. But the second you violate whatever the norms of that clique are, you're in trouble. Oh, so simple example, that phone call that I was lucky enough to record, because, my passenger in the car pulled her iPhone out. Come to find out, there were BCs in the room. Like, it wasn't just Tracy and Nikki illegally sabotaging employment. There's like 2 or 3 BCs back there in the room, all giggling, and they're all listening. And it's this Mean Girls club to sabotage Eric's employment. And like, how disgusting is that? Like, we are all master's prepared clinicians and grown-ups, and that to me is like nauseating
If they'll do it to Eric,
Nauseating.
they'll do it to you.
to anybody.
Yep, that is
Anybody.
spot on, Jennifer. I think of
Anybody.
when I was at my old company, DDSI. I
Said it
got,
before I'd ask.
dang it, I just, everybody knows. I got a certificate the day I put in my notice. It was the morning of, so I hadn't put in my notice yet, but it was like, you're doing great work. You're like a great BC. I can't remember what it was. And
Like
then
one of those like elementary school, like
I think it even
A
has
little gold trim.
it had a gold sticker, I think. I didn't get a
listen, we
raise.
can't give you a raise, but here's a you did
Yeah.
well, pal.
And I know, a pizza party. Yep.
Pizza party.
But the second I turned in my notice that I was a terrible clinician, just it flipped instantly. Within a day. I watched it within a day.
Weird, right?
You don't know what you don't know. That's been a common theme, right? It makes me think of that. Like, you don't know what you're about to encounter. And so I'm hoping this channel, it gets to as many BCs as possible, because this is what it's for. It's for the industry. And so one thing I want to throw out there is, if you watch this and you have a different opinion about these, let me know, email me, and we can talk about that. We can come on and record and hear the other side of the non-competes. If you're a BC out there and you are just hearing some of this for the first time and you want to learn more, reach out to us. One thing that I would like to start doing in the industry statewide is teaching all BCs how to read NOAs. And if you're a newer BC and you're thinking, what's an NOA? Because now they're called service authorizations, NOA/SA. I have found out that so much of the industry doesn't know how to read them because they're hidden from them. We'll teach you how to read them. I draw up some mock ones that don't have any, PHI, and we'll teach you how to read them. And then whatever else, if you're a BC out there and you listen to this and you go, man, there's so much I don't know about, like, what do you want to know? We'll teach you. There's full transparency, because this is good work. Like, there shouldn't be all these hidden things behind all these cloaks and this, behavior at INABC, but then behind it is all the treachery. Like, we're not doing that anymore. And I'm not going to be quiet about it anymore. Not that I was ever that quiet about it, but like, not like I am today.
Joaquin, I have a quick question.
What's up?
So I feel like a lot of these companies get new grads, somebody who does not have experience. What are like maybe 5 quick things that you could be like, red flag at a company if they don't have any experience in the world?
5 things. That's okay. Well, some of this is going to come from a millennial standpoint. If somebody brings you in and you interview with them, or you're starting orientation or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, we're just like a family here, red flag. You're not family.
Okay.
You're not family.
Hold on. Are you taking notes? Just
I'm not, but you can. That's a millennial thing. We're not family, right? Like, if you see that on their Facebook, if you see that in a sign or on
that
their
means pizza parties instead of raises.
that means pizza parties instead of raises, because we're a family and family sacrifices together. The owners are not sacrificing. The owners have a lake house. They're not sacrificing. So yeah. Whenever that happens, if you see it on a job listing, come work, we're just like a family, red flag, run away from that company. They're full of it. And, I say that not to be disrespectful of the people that work here. I care for them. They're great people, but like, this is a transaction. I'm asking you to perform a service of a high quality level, and I'm going to pay you the most in the industry to do it. And let's shake hands, make that deal. And you do it with respect. I pay you and treat you with respect. And like, it's a transaction. We're not at Thanksgiving together, And so Kara's right. Yeah, that translates to pizza party instead of raise. Okay, if they
just, I guess, B-Man specifically. So, obviously the non-competes.
yeah, any restrictive covenant.
Yeah.
Non-competes aren't the only one. Pure abilities, I think they're based in the North. They have a loyalty clause in theirs, which is if you are a BC for us, you cannot be a BC anywhere else. Like simultaneously, which to me is illegal for contractors. Like, we have contractors that contract for us in another agency. Like, we have a ton of them. I don't know, 20 of our 85 contract for us in another agency because they're contractors. They're not employees. And so but Pure Abilities has a restrictive covenant that says if you're going to be a BC for us, you can't be a BC anywhere else. So if you see any kind of a restrictive covenant, non-competition, loyalty clauses, solicitation, whatever the hell it's phrased, run away. And I know you need a job.
Aren't they the ones as well that like if someone else is working for another company, they will let you work for them, but if you work for them, you can't work for another company.
That's how we learned about it, because a BC from SBS also decided to contract with them, and they allowed it because they started here. But if you just get hired to start with them, you cannot elsewhere, right? Because it's the inbound is the is great, but the outbound is the problem, like everywhere.
So weird.
Oh,
I think
trash.
billing quotas too, right? You have to bill
Oof, yeah, that's a
so
good one.
many
So
hours.
yeah, okay. That, you know what, Jennifer, that's a great one. That boils back to the contractor and employee discussion, which what people are starting to make the mistake. Not starting, they've been making this mistake for a long time, but they're starting to make the mistake further. I'm not going to elaborate too deeply on it, but you can't have both. And I know Tracy, the Wolf of Waiver Gibson, just added contractors to try to, fight back, I guess, or bully us. You can't have both. And if you don't know why, you're going to learn, because a lot of agencies have learned the hard way. So I'm not going to dive into that one, but I agree.
Right.
I don't believe in quotas. That's one of the many reasons why we went the contract route versus employee route, because the employee route pushes for quotas, which quotas lead to other stuff that is in the next episode that we're going to dive into, and those kinds of implications. So yeah, I don't believe in billing quotas. If you bill 4 hours, like, what did you do all month? But like, that's cool. You're not going to get an email from us asking, like, we're just going to bill your 4 hours and move on,
You're just gonna 4 hours. Yeah.
What else is there? Okay. Red flag for BC. If the leader of that agency is not a BC, that's a red flag to me.
Oh yeah.
I love that, actually. Yes.
Because that tells me that they're more business minded. They looked at the NOA and saw the reimbursement rate for behavior and said, ooh, I want to put my hand in that cookie jar. I want a seat at that table, right? Or, we're leaving money on that table. And I want to say, you don't have a seat at that table because, you're not a clinician. You don't know how it really works. You've never been in the field. You don't know all the nuances of this, that. And so you just want the program for the money, in my opinion, right? Other people have their own opinions. Come on this show so we can debate it. But if the leader is not a BC, and I don't mean the leader hires a BC to lead the BCs. No, if the leader is not a BC, there is going to be a separation between the business side of it and like the actuality of being a behavior consultant. There's going to be a rift.
I do. And especially because like at DDSI, I'm just going to say it, the owner could not be a BC. He needed all of us to work there, right? But we were still treated poorly. But he couldn't
push the bill, and they don't understand the complexities of being out there. They don't. That's why every director at SBS is required to maintain a smaller caseload, because you have to still be out there. I still have a small caseload because you have to be out there. You cannot lose touch of practice, or how else are you going to lead everybody else? You can't. You cannot be a leader if you're not doing it with them.
I agree.
Right.
What are we up to? 3, 4?
I don't know. I'll say 4.
4? Jennifer, we need one more.
What about picking your clients? Like I've always felt like that's something that's important for both the client and the behavior consultant to have a therapeutic relationship. But like if your director says, well, you have to go see this person, maybe they don't even like you. Like maybe, you're sitting with them every week and they're like, gosh, I don't want to talk to you.
What if you're afraid of them? Because that does happen.
Yeah,
let's
does
talk
happen,
about all of it, right? The good, bad,
That
and
did
the ugly.
happen to me. That happened
Sometimes, so not
Mhm.
everybody is a 6'1" heavily tattooed person. So like different situations are going to make different people uncomfortable. And so,
Right.
yeah, I'm glad my now dubbed co-host Jennifer is here, because I wasn't even thinking about those. Thank you. Yeah, another reason why the contractor model was chosen is choice for everybody. Individuals obviously get to choose, and then we get to choose if it's a good fit, because what if it's not? What if I feel
Right.
unsafe? What if I feel uncomfortable? What if I go into home and, XYZ is exhibited and I'm like, I don't want to come back here. You shouldn't have to force people. You just
Right.
shouldn't, or it's too far of a drive. Like I'm over those days. I am over
That's
driving an
it.
hour and a half.
I
each
remember
way.
driving an hour in every direction
Ugh.
and being told,
And that's
sorry.
not Indy traffic. So those here in Indiana, when you think of like, oh, well, in Indianapolis, 465, that's normal. No, 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 no. We're talking no traffic, still takes an hour. Like that's
Mhm.
100 miles.
Yep.
But imagine not
Ish.
being able to choose your caseload, but also having to meet that billing quota each
Ugh.
month.
Yeah.
When you get
Yeah,
into
135 hours a month.
you're working like 50-hour weeks, but you know, you're only billing so much because you're driving everywhere. Yeah, you're good.
I completely agree. That was a great question. Those are a lot of red flags.
Red
Yeah.
flag.
They say they're family. That means pizza party instead of raise. I'm
It
gonna
does.
put that on a shirt or like on a status or something. Yeah, I completely agree. That means you're gonna get a pizza party and a $20 gift card to Chili's instead of
We don't do raises here.
right, instead of a legitimate, salary. And you're not gonna get paid $80,000-$90,000 a year that a master's prepared clinician calls for. You're gonna get, $15 a Starbucks, $20 a Chili's, and an email saying you're a good boy.
It is printed. It's printed with a gold sticker.
You got the gold sticker.
But also,
And it's good.
I know I did not speak very highly of my last employer, but I do want to say my supervisors were incredible. I learned so much from them.
So stay alive.
Wait, what?
So you stay alive.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm like me. I get it now. Took me a second, but they were really great. And so I think they had been with the company for like 10 years. And when they left, it fell apart. And speaking of the non-compete, they had individuals who they had served for over 10 years that they could not continue providing services to. 10 years.
Those poor people, right? I mean, if you stay with someone for 10 years,
10
you
years.
don't want to lose that person.
I don't care if it's 10 months. You shouldn't have to.
Right.
But
Correct.
you're right.
My gosh. And how many times did those BCs want to leave, but they said, I can't do it to my clients. I can't
Right.
do it. I have to wait until we get past this.
So you're
or-
trapped. So you're
You're
trapped. And back to my question, what motivates them to improve, innovate, give raises? Nothing, because you're trapped.
And
And
how many
somebody-
VCs have come to us and have said, I never got a raise for the years I worked at this particular company?
A
right?
lot.
Yeah.
And somebody, I
But
can
how
already
many-
hear it. Somebody else will come in and be like, well, they're not trapped, Joaquin. They could just go get a job at Burger King or at the
Right.
the
Leave the
hospital.
industry for a year.
You have to
and-
completely leave your chosen field of work.
Yeah.
You're trapped. Come on the show, email me, we'll debate it out, here, but like you're trapped. Like that's my stance on that. And at SBS, you're not trapped. And at all the other agencies that we're pushing for, you shouldn't be trapped. If we are not fulfilling our part of the transaction, you should be able to go. I'm sorry to see you go. I'll try to keep you, but if you make that decision, just like with the BC we just lost to Embracing Abilities,
And she's
I
great.
counter offered. I tried. She still went. Best of luck.
Mhm.
I specifically told her multiple times, if things change, hit me up. You can come back. And
Come on
that's how
back.
those transactions should be like that every time in the industry.
Right.
How much better would we be as an industry serving the individuals across Indiana, spending those dollars on infrastructure and in the playground that I want to build and all the other stuff? Like how much better would things be if that is how it actually worked?
I wish.
Instead of
What-
going to INABC and putting on a facade that, oh yeah, this is what we do. But then behind closed doors, you file fictitious, BQIS reports and you threaten and bully and leave these voicemails and emails and text messages.
Right.
We're not doing that anymore. We had to open a
No.
new association because the current one was too corrupted.
Mhm.
I mean, it goes back years and years of the main players. Kelly Hartman just implemented non-competition agreements at
That's
Insights.
That really surprised me.
That
I
didn't
was
surprise me at all.
Well, it was the people that bought them though, right?
Yeah, and selling was a choice.
It
Mhm.
was. It could have been
Everything's a decision. Everything's a choice. Everything's
Yeah.
a choice. I'm just
Right.
saying, if I ever sold SBS and you told me I had to do things that were just completely against, I'm out. It's
Mhm.
just me. But yeah, all of the players, I'm thinking back, I'm thinking of the executive board over there. Most of the players are a part of these nasty agencies that, put on a facade and then behave like this. And we're going to it's not defamation. We're going to prove it. It is demonstrably true. We're going to show it to everybody. We're going to email it out. And if you want to act like this, be prepared to be outed for it.
I don't disagree. I think people should know.
Yeah.
What the people representing the majority of sorry, I just lost train of thought, but how many people are in INABC?
According to their website, somewhere in the ballpark of 500. I stopped participating in 2019. And so I don't know. I stopped. There's a lot of reasons, of course, like I said, the presidency and the fake actors, and now the new president is, threatening and the non-competes. Kelly Hartman messaged me last year out of nowhere because she was upset that one of her friends who's a competitor, we were apparently recruiting a BC. And so she starts texting me, and I have those text messages. And she said, this is against ethics, and it's uninvited solicitation, which is the verbiage for the individuals, not for recruitment. And according to INABC's code of ethics, if you are not a member of INABC, you don't fall under that. You don't contact. She violated their own code of ethics, contacted me, and was bullying me. And I saved all those text messages, turned it into a PDF, and I emailed it out to a bunch of people. And so the liaison bullies, I have it on paper. I can show it to anybody. And then now added non-competes. The former president is now being sued for her nefarious activities. The current president is using non-competes and bullying. And so when people have come and asked me why we had to make a new association, this is why.
That's supposed to be our representatives. They're supposed to
They don't represent a damn thing about me.
No.
Be a good human. That's why I keep wearing this shirt. Did I address this shirt in the beginning?
I don't think you did.
Oh, so this is my third episode in a row wearing the exact same shirt. Now, between episode 1 and episode 2, I did tell you all that this was laundered. Between episode 2 and today, episode 3, which was a week apart, this was not laundered. This is Stinky Shirt Friday. So be a good human. I love it. I'm going to wear this shirt often and sometimes launder it, but no promises.
Where'd you get it? I feel like we should all get one.
I ordered it online from it's a young man with Down syndrome that opened his own shirt company. It's like 21 Pineapples shirt company, something like that. I have a few. I have 3 or 4 from his company, not just this one, but what do you call it? Like Hawaiian style shirts, button ups. It's a cool story, and I like ordering from them. And you'll see this shirt again in the March issue of Special Needs Living magazine. Be on the lookout for that article, because I came with it there too. So that interview was fun. Okay. I think we're headed towards wrapping up. I would like to go around and get some final thoughts from you folks before I say my final spiel and we head out this virtual door. Jennifer, you're first.
I'm first. Okay. I think that the kind of stuff that we've seen over the last couple of years from other companies is extremely disheartening. The bullying of behavior consultants just because they want to go and work at another agency. And obviously it's not all behavior consulting agencies. We know some good ones, but the ones that are not acting in good faith and behaving this way are really detrimental to the industry as a whole. And I just kind of think back to that survey that we were talking about in the last episode, which was this crazy number of 88% of behavior consultants leave the industry to make more money. And I'm like, is it? Or do they get pushed out? Or do they get tired of being bullied and then they leave? And I find that incredibly sad. And I hope that we're going to be a part of that push across the state to start shining a light on that behavior, and that maybe these companies that do this will kind of look at themselves and go, this isn't going to work anymore.
That's
I
the
love it.
goal.
I hope you're so right. Leslie, you have any closing thoughts before we head out of here?
I just hearing everything for the past almost 2.5 hours.
It's a long time.
I don't know. I'm really touched that you're fighting so hard for this. It's just really sweet, and I'm glad you're spreading awareness about what you go through and what you've seen, because in what I've went through too with all this.
Yeah.
It's something that needs to be changed, and you're doing good work doing this. And I wanted to say I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Leslie,
I appreciate that very much. Yeah. Listen, I
Wow.
need to take a moment before
I know I'm a crybaby too. So like, and I'm up next. Dang it.
thank you. Thank you
I'm
very
feeling
much, Leslie.
emotional now.
I was not until that moment. Goodness, thank you. We're trying, and I can make you and all the other individuals in Indiana the promise that we're going to try until somebody stops me. So good luck. Your thoughts, Kara, before we close out?
For me, I think it's such an honor to serve the population that we do. And I just wish, as I'm like about to cry, I just wish that everybody felt that same way. And to see the impact that it has on individuals in their lives. And I hope these tough conversations spark change within our community, whether it's big or small. I mean, even, just being able to help individuals through this as well. So yeah, that's my soapbox. I'm not going to cry. I said I wouldn't. I'm not going to.
You're allowed to cry.
No, it moves me in such a way that the population we serve, they're already at higher risks for things like manipulation, abuse, all sorts of things. And companies, providers, they're doing the exact same thing that we're supposed to be protecting individuals from.
Right.
And I will never be okay with it because I think having these services, it's a fair shot at life, and we're messing with somebody's day-to-day. It's not money, it's somebody's ability to get up, to get dressed, to do this.
Exist how they want to.
Correct. And it's not like we're, a hairdresser. It's not cosmetic. This is somebody's life.
Personal?
Yeah. I mean, no. And so I just really want to move forward with that in mind, that, it's client focused, individual focused. Individuals are the reason that we're doing all of these things, and do better. Do better.
Do better.
Nothing about me without me.
Let's get a shirt. Do better. I love it. Thank you. I want to thank everybody on the panel that came to participate today. Ryan, who had to leave early, thank you. Leslie, Kara, Jennifer, thank you all for coming. I've got 2 closing statements I'd like to make. The first one, I'm going to repeat every few episodes. This is one of Jennifer's favorite things that I say. So I'd like to say this out loud for all of you to hear. I do not struggle with any addictions or substance abuse issues. I do not struggle with any mental health issues. I take care of myself physically, spiritually, mentally very well. So if I go missing...
Oh, well, I'm scared now too. They're going to come for me, the little people. I'm scared.
There's going to be cease and desists.
If I go missing, or if something unexpectedly happens to me, somebody did it to me. Okay, thank you. Second statement.
We just don't post this one. This one we skip over. We got it out.
100% posting it. I'm
We
going to
just-
post it in 12 minutes. So anywho, and the last thing I'd like to end with is, I know I'm coming at this, we're all coming at this from one lens, or our lenses, or this, that, whatever. If you have a different opinion, if you'd like to debate some of it, email me. It's joaquinorozco.behavior@gmail.com. I love my free emails. Just email me and be like, hey, Joaquin, I listened to this. I disagree with this. Can we, go back and forth about it? Absolutely. We'll have you on a panel with some of the upcoming episodes, and we'll bring in other perspectives. I've been inviting a lot of people, just so those of you who have watched these first 3 episodes, because the first 3 will be uploaded together. I've invited a lot of people, and one of the things that I get back from a lot of them is, I'm afraid I'll get fired if I go on. And
Mhm.
that is another industry thing that we're going to talk about more in a later episode, but just quick snippet. Why would you get fired for talking about the disabilities industry? That to me is just terrifying.
Right.
So on that note, let your wheels spin about that thought, and we'll cover that in a later episode. I want to thank everybody for coming today, and I am going to opt out and stop this recording.